All right, so I'm going to wrap up chapter 20 here with the resolving the guest complaints. I'm going to try to keep my computer a little more still this go round than I did in the last video. I hope you didn't get seasick from moving around as much. So when you are serving people, you are going to find that there's just going to be some guests that have complaints, and some people will find anything to complain about. I don't like the term, but I know in the last couple of years, the Karens have been kind of a thing to use for that. Um, Basically, there are going to be some people that are just going to complain, regardless of whether or not you think that maybe it's the sort of person that would just complain anyway, or if it's a legitimate concern. So, no matter what, you have to treat that guest well. It comes down to not just losing the business of that client, but that client having bad Yelp reviews. Bad reviews really go a long way into chasing people off. Word of mouth gets around, and with social media and the internet being the main way that people find information, it's really easy to not just lose one client, but potentially others. So when you are resolving a complaint, the first person who receives the complaint is responsible for making sure that it gets resolved. So you may need to get a manager involved. You may be able to handle that all by yourself. Generally, if you have a complaint, particularly a good size complaint, always get your manager involved. As a server, it's generally not up to you on whether or not you take care of the bill or offer them free food next time, or whatever you need to do to make that customer leave happy. So the best way is to listen attentively. Think of ways to solve the problem. Don't be defensive. Don't blame other people. Treat them with courtesy and respect. Don't get defensive and don't argue. Just, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am goes a long way. Just listening. Be patient. Try to see it from their point of view, particularly depending on what the situation is, whether it took too long for the food to come out, or there's a hair in the food, or the food just wasn't right, or the order wasn't right. It's good to paraphrase it back to them, so that they know that you are listening, and that you're confirming that that's what the issue is. So you're restating the problem in the main details, short and brief. So take responsibility for the situation as a manager or an employee. Don't hide behind the job description, like, sorry, that's not my job, because ultimately every customer is your job. So over here it said, 96% of unhappy guests do not complain. But most of them leave and they don't ever come back. And I do hate to say I have been that person. I've had a bad experience or bad customer experience or just bad food experience. And instead of letting the operation know so they can fix the problem, I just don't go back. Um, and so you need to take ownership for resolving that complaint. Um, you, try to see if you can quickly resolve that problem and then move forward. Don't keep going back to that problem. So if the problem happened early in the service, fix it, solve it, give them really good service from that point forward. Maybe one more time on their way out the door, thank them for their patience, and then that's it, and hope that they come back. When I was a server, particularly at when I was working at Applebee's, I was actually kind of known for handling guest complaints. And I was really good. That was one of my specialties, actually, was taking care of people that had had a bad experience. And often, most of those people were not in my section. And so we had a manager that, particularly if it was a bad service situation, then he would go ahead and buy their food and take care of their food and their bill. And then he would essentially cut that table from that server and move me in. And he would say, Shelly, go work your magic. And I would swoop in. I would let them know that I was sorry for what had happened in this experience up to now, but my name was Shelly, and I would be taking care of them from that point forward. I gave them excellent service, and I almost always left. They left with a feeling that it had been resolved and that they were coming back. And that's a pretty special skill to be able to take people that have been upset, particularly when it's the server that has upset them, whether they forgot to put their order in or the order was wrong or any of that. And so, but one of the keys to that was to not keep bringing it up. Like every time I stop by the table, don't keep bringing it up. Like apologize, fix it, move on, do everything right from that point forward. So that's something that's pretty important as well. So there's an ed puzzle that you guys will kind of do, but you don't want to avoid them. You don't want to ignore them. You know, problems and mistakes occur. Guests understand this. It's all about properly addressing that situation. If it's over the phone, a manager or host may be trying to help understand the situation. So it's the same thing when you're dealing with them on the phone. Just be really calm, really patient, very professional. Even if they are not going to be professional, it's important that you are. Because remember, one bad interaction with a client that got under your skin or pushed you to the point that you just wanted to snap at them is not worth your job. And it's certainly not worth losing a bunch of business possibly for that restaurant. So, and the last thing you want to do, so to summarize it all up, you want to listen to the complaint, ask detailed questions so that you make sure you understand the issue completely. It might be simple, like they've been waiting for 30 minutes for their food or the order wasn't right. Solve the complaint as quickly as you can, and then give them great service from that point forward, and then thank them for bringing the complaint to you so that you could solve the problem and maintain that guest business. Um, so that's ultimately that's how you deal with clients and guests that are unhappy.